is where you ask the other burning question. Feel free, if you already feel that you're smart enough for this, to just exit the room. Don't try to distract those people who really want to better themselves with some higher education. Wow, no questions once again. Please remember, children, you can't solve these things unless there are equal signs. These are not equations. 1, 2, 3, and 4 are just factoring. No equations, no equal signs. You can't tell me what K is. You can't tell me what P is. You can only break it down into 2 different factors. Keep that in mind, if you will. Yeah. Maddie Roth?
15.
Do we have to go to 15 automatically? All right. 15. I don't know what 15 is at, but I think we can do it. Yeah. That's solving by elimination?
Yeah.
I might blow this up abnormally large and try to do this in a small sort of fashion here. And please look for this. This is by elimination. So you want to just be able to add the 2 things together to get one of the terms to drop away. And hopefully you could recognize this. There's not much you have to do to this, Manny Roth. This already has a positive 5x and a minus 5x, so you already got opposites. I don't know, did you multiply one by something and something by the other one? So you just added them together as they were, because that's what I would do here. Okay, if you add these together, the 5x's go away. 8y minus 4y is 4y, and that equals, you got to keep your negatives straight here. 28 minus 16 is 12, I believe, last I checked. Did you end up with that?
Yeah.
And then if you divide, to solve for y, divide by 4, y is going to equal 3. And that was good so far? Some of you maybe have some trouble then with the rest of this. It doesn't matter which one you put y in for. I'm going to go right here just because it looks easiest to me. 5x plus 8 times the 3 I said y is equals negative 16. 8 times 3 is 24. I need to subtract that to the other side. So I subtract 24. Negative 16 minus 24, that's a big negative number. It's negative 40. And that equals 5x. So you divide by your 5, divide by your 5, y is going to equal negative 5. Is this where you went wrong? Was that 2 y's? Is that where I went wrong?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, x. I wouldn't say that's way wrong. I am the first to admit that I make some goofy mistakes once in a while. Or more than once in a while.
Negative
8.
I said I make some mistakes once in a while. Just shoveled my driveway like 7 times this week. Give me a break. Is that better? Did I get it right after all that?
Yes.
Daddy, where did you grow up? Did you make any of the mistakes I did?
I didn't put 3 as in I put it like this.
As long as you know. Jason, sir.
16 is a little different, I think.
16 is a little different. I like that. It's right here, though. 16 is a little different in that you got to do some work because neither one of them are opposites. So tell me, Jason, what you would do, and I will do what you should have done. There are 8 billion different ways you could solve this, but only.
Would you flip the positive and the negative and positive signs on top or bottom?
Probably not. I would probably work with the 3 and the 4 if it was up to me, but you can do it. You can do that if you want. Somehow you got to get these 2 to be the same or these 2 to be the same, only opposites. In other words, your choice is either to make both of these 12s or probably make both of those 56s, and it's up to you. Did you not do either one of those things?
I tried flipping it to its opposite, positive and negative.
Which one did you flip?
The top.
Okay, so you made all these positives. Yes?
Yeah.
Now, that doesn't, I mean, and that's all well and good, but it doesn't make anything drop out if you add them together. These numbers have to be the same too. They have to be opposite and they have to be the same numbers. So you're gonna do that, you know, you'd have to multiply the top negative by 8 and the bottom by 7. Which way would you like me to go about that? Want me to go back to the very beginning? Or do you want me to do what you did here? Which was just a lot of extra work that you didn't have to do.
That's the way.
What?
That's the way.
Well, the best way is this. Since these two are already opposites, I just want to make both of them 12s. That's the smallest thing that 3 and 4 go into. So I'm going to multiply everything on top by 4. And then I'm going to multiply everything on the bottom by 3. Then, because I want to try to get this right, I probably would write it, try to organize my thoughts a little bit here, and just rewrite them over here. Negative 3 times 4 is a, I'm going to write it here so it's not in that little spot there. Oh wait, no, hold on a second, I'm going to, what can I do? Anybody? I'm open for suggestions. I'll use the little spot. Negative 3 times, it's negative 12x, right? 4 times negative 3, 4 times negative 7, minus 28y, 4 times negative 7, negative 28. Did I do anything wrong? Yeah. Get close. On the bottom, I get a positive 12x minus 24y equals negative 4. Catch that, Jason? Are we good with that so far?
Yeah.
So now these are opposites. When I add them together, they go away. Nothing left. 2 negatives there make a bigger negative. Negative what? 52y equals negative 52. Well, that's not so bad. Divide by negative 52, divide by negative 52. I get y to be a positive 1. Hopefully I got that right. And then it doesn't matter, you can go back into any of the 4 equations you have. The new ones, the old ones, whatever. Put 1 in for y, and you'll get x. I'll do it here because I got 0. 8 times 1. Negative 8, I add 8 to that. Oh look, x must be 0 because when I subtract 8 from 8 to negative 8, I get 0. Did I get that one right? X equals 0. By the way, you can always see if you got your answers right by plugging these things in. If I put a 1 in for y and a 0 in for x, this should be true. This goes away. I have a negative 8 here. Does negative 8 equal negative 8? Yes. It works. And it has to work for both of them. 0 in for this. If I put a 1 in for y, 7 times 1, yeah, works. It's going to be a stellar test. I can tell. Brianna Massey.
What was number 17?
Somebody 17? I really can't tell you.
$4.
What?
$4.
4 and 14. Do you good with that? You want me to do that? Kate?
Number, how do you do number 14?
Oh. Lo and behold, it does come back. Anybody, first thing I have to do for number 14 is, if I want to get it right. Somebody? Please? Laney?
Right now?
Not write it out, but wait, is this 14 here? It is.
That's 17.
Oh, well, that makes sense. I'm sorry, that's why what you were saying was making no sense to me whatsoever. Is this 14?
No.
Why do I have 14 on here? Is this 14?
You're on right before.
Is this 14?
Above 17.
Oh.
Wait, this is 15.
Yeah.
Is this 14?
No.
Oh.
I don't have 14. Is this 14?
No.
Oh.
14?
Maybe.
14? 14? 14.
Oh, yeah.
Give it up. Wait, what's the question? Oh, this one, I agree. This is kind of, this would be the hardest of the substitution ones you're ever going to find. Again, you do need to do it by substitution. Let me look and see if there's one substitution, one like it on tomorrow's test. Yep, there's one. So the deal with substitution, ladies and gentlemen, is that one of the equations you're dealing with has to be solved for one letter, and that doesn't happen here. Both x and y are on one side, and both x and y are on one side. So you need to solve one of them for either x equals or y equals. Now there's a smarter one to do than the other one. You could do it any way you want, but only one of them makes sense. Right? Which one would make sense to solve for what?
What? Oh, 2.
No, I was thinking
X?
7.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
What do I do what that means? What do you mean 2?
7. There's 2
7
penalties
doesn't make
right
sense either. I was just saying numbers.
I said 7.
I already said 7. I don't know what that means. Jaden? Alright. Let me go over this again. In order to do substitution, Drew Norquist, one of the two equations needs to be solved for a single letter. In other words, you need it to say x equals something or y equals something. They need to be by themselves. Now here, maybe I should do it the hard way so you can see the hard way and say, no, there's the easy way. I am just going to randomly pick this one. I'm going to try to solve this for x. In order for me to use substitution, I need to know what x equals. Watch how difficult this would be to try to do this. So here it is. I'm going to rewrite it. Negative 3x minus 4y equals 7. To get x by itself, I first of all have to get rid of this, so I'm going to add 4y to both sides. Okay? Now I got negative 3x. I want to get x by itself. So now I have to divide everything by negative 3. So the letter x, now by itself, equals negative 7/3 plus 4y over negative 3. That is the start of my thing, which is very difficult compared to what it could have been if I was just smart at the beginning. I don't want you to have to go through that because there's something way easier to do. Keith Stewart, what would it be?
Do the first one instead.
Yeah, solve this for x because x is already by itself. All you have to do is subtract 2y over. This is what x equals this. Is that not a lot easier than this gobbledygook? Yes, Mr. Hahn, it is. Thank you for making my life so much easier. Very hard here for you kids. So now you know what x equals. You take this and put it in for x. Oh, boy.
How did it
Hey,
even
Daddy.
happen? Can we just get more paint?
Add into it.
But how
I
did
put
it
that in for x right there. Let's not dawdle about that. So here's how that looks. I get negative 3, that's this part. I am substituting this whole piece in for x, minus 5, minus 2y, and that's still minus 4y equals 7. There you have it, just that simple. Multiply by my negative 3, I get plus or positive 15. Negative 3 times negative 2 is plus 6y minus 4y equals 7. Combining my y terms, 6y minus 4y is 2y. Subtracting 15 to get it to the other side. What is 7 minus 15?
Negative 8.
Negative 8. Now divide by negative 2, or divide by positive 2. Y equals negative 4. Y equals negative 4. And then you just put y into any of the equations. Let's put it in right here just for fun because it's a wide open space. Negative 4 times negative 4 is positive 16. Subtract 16 to get it over here. I get a negative 9. Negative 3x equals that negative 9, so you divide by negative 3. Divide by negative 3. Looks like x equals 3. There will be a problem on the test. What is going on? That will have that. You will need to solve one of these two. Whew. Take a deep breath, because that was a tough one. Why I did not copy these marker back, I'll never know. Hard to believe that that's it. JD, 18? 15? Is this the one? This is going to be very frustrating.
Kill it all
Okay,
Put some duct tape.
I thought about packing tape because that would really do the same thing. It's really rough. Alright,
up. Don't use that.
please note to self, this does have an equal sign. You can solve this if it is a binomial. This one's not one of those perfect square ones. You just have to look at it and go, is there a way you can factor this? Can you take something out of both terms? Jenna? What do both of these have? Huh? Let me change colors here. Jenna, what do both of those terms have? An M. So you can take an M out, right? If I take an M out, what am I left with? Take an M out of this, I'm left with an M. Take an M out of that, I get -7, right? These are two factors of each other. And it's just like with binomials. If you get either one of these to be 0, the whole thing is going to be 0. Okay? So when will this parenthesis be 0? What would M have to be here to be 0? Sometimes it's really obvious. 0. If this was a 0, then this whole thing is 0 because 0 times anything is 0. What would M have to be here for this one to be 0? What -7 is 0? 7? Positive 7, right? 7 minus 7 is 0. Those are your two answers. I said you could think of this as a trinomial and you'll still get the same answer. It just gets a little weird. In other words, this. Let's say I wrote it like this. Make it a trinomial by putting it plus 0 equals 0. If you factored this into two binomials, what times what, we know the first terms are m's, what times what gives you 0 when added together gives you -7? It just gets a little weird here. What times what gives you 0, by the way? How many different factors could you get to what times what gives you 0? Shall I give you a few? Sure, why not? Well, you can multiply 0 times 2, or you can multiply 0 times 3, or you can multiply 0 times 4, or you can multiply 0 times -5, or you can multiply 0 times -6, or you can multiply 0 times 15. Okay, there's an infinite amount of answers for this. But what tells you what you need is this. Only one of them, when you add it together, will give you -7. What would it be? 0 and? 0 and -7. Because 0 times -7 is 0, and 0 plus -7 is -7. So that equals 0. When will these parentheses be 0? When m is, what number plus 0 is 0? 0. What number -7 is 0? 7. You could think about it that way too. It's the same thing as this. They're the same thing, it's just that this way kind of seems confusing. Just know if it's a binomial, can you take two things out of it? Isabel.
So for the solve by factoring the ones that are equal to 0, but if you're writing them like in the parenthesis form, can either number go on either spot? Does that make sense?
They can as long as there's no letter in front of the M. I mean, if you get a 2 in here, it very much depends on which number you put there.
Yeah.
It gets multiplied by that. As long as it's like this, no. Doesn't matter. 3 days of snow will do that to you. Nobody has anything else. I love it. Elaine.
Number 17.
17? I have no idea what 17 might even be. Snow that we picked up in my board is getting bigger by the day. Oh, 17. That was the one I thought we were asking before. When you see a problem like number 17, the first thing you have to do is goes to organizing your thoughts. Elijah? Yeah, define your variables. What don't you know? You have what types of pies? You've got cherry pies, so we'll make C. We'll make C stand for the cost of a cherry pie. $signs for cherry. And you've got P, which is the cost of a pumpkin pie. That's the first thing you do, so you keep that sort of stuff straight. And then you just make two equations out of it. You have 4 cherry pies, so 4 cherry plus 1 pumpkin, and that equals $30. So far, so good? Delaney, does that make sense? You will get another equation because you know that 4 cherry pies and 5 pumpkin equals $86. And they want to know how much is the cost of each. Well, here is your simultaneous equations here. You have your choice. You can solve it by graphing it. You could solve it by substitution. You could solve it by elimination. Which one's going to be easiest? Elimination is always. And then what would I have to do to eliminate it? Riley?
Multiply one of them by a -1.
Now, and again, because you get your choice, people, try to make it easy on you. Which one would be the best option that would leave you the fewest amount of negatives to deal with that might confuse you in the end?
Top one.
Yeah, the top one, because if you make these negatives, you're going to get positive answers when you add them. If you make these negatives, you're going to get negatives, and that might throw you off. I don't know. So minus 4c, minus t, minus 30. The c's drop off. 5p minus p is 4p. 86 minus 30 is 56. Divide by 4, divide by 4. P, which was our pumpkin pie's cost, 4 goes into 56 14 times, so $14. If you put $14 in for your pumpkin pie, it doesn't really matter where. 5 times 14 is 70. Subtract 70 from this, you get 4c equals 16. So a cherry pie, I don't know why they're so much cheaper, is only $4. Apparently pumpkins are very expensive these days. It's really hard after 3 snow days to come back to school, I can tell. Laggardly, lethargic. Like last year's class, I came up with a whole list of adjectives that describe it.
You started on your list, Ross.
Yes, there's a list. I can't tell you.
Tell me.
Winkleman!
Lady number 19.
How do I do it? Well, I'm going to write it right here so I can see it because I covered it up with things. Anybody out there in the real world of sports? First of all, it's an inequality equation, which means there's going to entail shading, right? You're going to shade something here. Secondly, what form is this in?
Standard.
It's in standard form, so you're going to solve it by finding xy intercepts, which would be my easiest. Thirdly, Josh, you should notice one very serious problem I have. This would be one, if you don't hear anything else I say today, this would be in the top 10. Laney? The y is negative. And if the y is negative, that means when you shade it, you're going to flip this sign and think about it being its opposite. So instead of shading on the positive side of y, you're going to shade the negative side of it because of that negative y. Let me say that again. Because of the negative in front of the y, when you shade this, you're going to think about this as being a less than sign, not a greater than sign. So here is all it is. Where is it going to cross the x-axis? If I cross off the negative 2y and I have 3x into 2, it's not easy. It ends up being a fraction. 3x equals 2. If I solve that for x, I divide by 3, I divide by 3. The x-intercept is 2/3. Not pleasant, but there it is, 2/3. 2/3 of the way there. The y-intercept, not so bad. If negative 2y equals 2, where does it cross the y-axis? Divide negative 2 into 2, Elijah, negative 1. So those are my 2 points that I can now draw my line. It is an equal sign, so it is a solid line. And here is what we thought before. This says y is greater than, but because it's a negative y, you think opposite, and you shade the bottom portion of the line. These are all things I was jotting down and give myself some notes for. Did I do it wrong? Fitcher?
Gain a greater perceptions on this equation 21.
You don't even know what that means.
Perception to gain greater.
21, Elijah says. Yes, to gain greater perception on this, let's do 21. Again, both of them are in standard form. This one is negative, so you think opposite, so let's do that one. Where does it cross the x-axis? Somebody? Divide 4 into negative 9. It's negative 9/4, which is negative 2 1/4, correct? Negative 2 1/4 is about right here. I'm not going to mark it wrong if you're off by a hair. Where does this cross the y-axis, Riley Harrington?
Positive 3 on the y.
Positive 3, because the negative 3 and the negative 9 is positive 3. Is it a colored in or dashed line, Riley?
Dash.
It's dashed because it's not equal to. And what side of that? Am I going to shade the top side or the bottom side? Winkleman? I've asked a good question. The top. Why? Because the y is negative, so instead of the less than, it's the greater than side. Why not? Let's shade the top. So here's my shading of the top. Elijah, is this helping your perception of this whole deeper understanding thing?
Like glasses.
What?
Like glasses.
Like molasses, yes.
Glasses.
I know you did. And the bottom one, x, y intercepts, you cover up the y, it crosses the x-axis at negative 6. Ooh, again, adjust. Crosses the y-axis at 3 goes into negative 6, negative 3. Solid line or dashed line? Solid because of the equal sign. And what gets colored in but the less than side, because it's the less than sign. Y is not negative. So you are going to color in this side of this line. And lo and proverbially behold, the answer to this is where their overlap is, which happens to be right here. This little sliver. Little sliver of a graph piece. How many people got that right? Really? Keith? Where'd you go wrong, sir?
-1.
Would it help if I reminded you of that tomorrow? If I were taking this test, the first thing I do is look at these inequalities and I would look for the negative y's and circle those so that in my mind I don't forget that. But that's just me. And I gotta say no for once, so you may not listen to mine. Advice. Thank you, Mrs. Clavish. Kate,
You can do number 22.
20 also?
22. 2.
That was fun. Oh, great. Kate, did you follow our simple, concise rules of graphing quadratics? What's step number 1? Kate, step number 1.
Oh, write down A, B.
And let's do those. A, B, C. What's A, Kate?
2,
What's B, Kate?
4,
Huh?
4,
Excuse me?
-4,
Thank you. That'll make a world of difference in the end. And what's C, Kate?
0.
0. Very good. Step number 2 is the axis of symmetry, which is negative b over 2a. And again, I strongly recommend you just put parentheses, otherwise you may make some mistakes. B is -4 and a is 2. So you end up with positive 4 over 4, which is a positive 1 axis of symmetry. It's a regular parabola because it's positive, so you know it's going to be this little thing here. We need to find the place where the bottom, the min is, so I put positive 1 into this equation. Probably draw a little graph over here, x and y. If I put positive 1 in for x, I get 2 times 1 squared minus 4 times 1. 1 squared is 1, times 2 is 2. I get 2 minus 4, which is a -2, which makes sense because look, that's what it is. Next thing I would do, Keith Stewart. Y-intercept is the letter C. There's nothing there, so it's at 0. So bam, and bam. And then probably to make the teacher happy, you'd find one more point. Maybe quite possibly put a 3 into this equation. 3 for x, what does that give me for y? 2 times 3 squared minus 4 times 3, which is 9. 18 minus 12, which is 6. So here at 6, there's 1 here, and 6 is 1 there, and your graph, kind of a skinny looking little thing. Just such. Was this your problem, Kate?
Yeah.
And that'll do it every time. You need to come up with something. Anybody? How many people got that right? It'll be a long custom model. Oh, I can take picture.
Can we just use this sheet for notes?
Yeah, you can use that for you. What's out there? Unless it's pizza note paper, I won't let you use the test, the pre-test.
What if you write the pre-test down in a separate notebook?
That would be interesting. I might give it to you just for all the worthless work that you did. You really think that's gonna, well, maybe. Anybody?
Yeah, just
Don't forget, please, when you come to things like this, make sure you're thinking opposite. You have to put, instead of -2 for x, it's +2, right? +2, 0. Same thing here. Where is the square root function is this little thing, right? The absolute value is a b. So this thing starts at the opposite of that, where x is 3, y is 3. X is 3, y is 3. A little graph of that. This one starts where x is 2, y is nothing. It's pretty simple ones to graph. This one here, you just have to find where it crosses the y-axis, which is -1. I just did the last 3 problems in the span of 10 seconds or less. Sometimes I'm glad I can't hear you, actually.
I'm seeing our next one.
It's like you're listening to road noise.
It's very relaxing.
it's so relaxing.
It's so peaceful.
It is.
It's
Oh.
all the voice tracks.
Ask now for a moment of peace, anybody? Well, ladies and gentlemen, we shall conclude this 34-minute and 45-second session.